Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought. Number, guess what? Number 1776, like the year that America gained its independence. And look at this. We have a lot of independence to gain now because our state is in chaos. We've got problems that, which, according to the Tao, the government is not paying attention to its citizens. It is spending wildly on military stuff, but not spending on food and medicine for kids. So I am going to read some things on the funeral oration of Pericles by Thucydides. Now, Thucydides was a Greek writer who lived a couple of, well, 1,000 years ago, and he had the plague at some point and survived it. And he actually came up with a record of, so he was a very good historian in his time, and we read a lot of his stuff. But this is more about government. The funeral oration of Pericles, the late mid 5th century BC, and this is by William J. Bennett, the editor of the Book of Virtues. William J. Bennett's commentary is that the late mid 5th century BC is known as the Age of Pericles in Greek history, for it was during the period of that great statesman's leadership that Athenian democracy flowered and the Athenian Empire reached full development militarily, commercially, and culturally. That's different from us because culturally we're not receiving anything. But anyway, back to the book. In his famous funeral oration over Athenians killed in battle, reported by Thucydides, Pericles gave an, quote, exposition of the general principles by virtue of which we came to empire and of the civic institutions and manners of life in consequence of which our empire became great. This end quote. The speech reminds participants of democracy 2.5 millennia later that the character of the state is determined by the virtues of individual citizens. Now, Thucydides says, we enjoy a form of government which is not in rivalry with the institutions of our neighbors. Nay, we ourselves are rather an example to many than imitators of others. By name, since the administration is not in the hands of few but of many, it is called a democracy. And it is true that before the law and in private cases, all citizens are on an equality. But in public life, every man is advanced to honor according to his reputation for ability, not because of his party, but because of his excellence. And further, provided he is able to do the city good service, not even in poverty does he find any hindrance, since this cannot obscure men's good opinion of him. It is with a free spirit that we engage in public life, and in our scrutiny of one another's private life, we are not filled with wrath at our neighbor if he consults his pleasure now and then, nor do we cast sour glances at him. We cherish beauty in all simplicity and wisdom without effeminacy. Our wealth supports timely action rather than noisy speech. And as for poverty, the admission of it is no disgrace to a man. Not to forge one's way out of it is a real disgrace. The same citizens among us will be found devoted to their homes and to the state, and others who are immersed in business have no mean knowledge of politics. We are the only people to regard the man who takes no interest in politics not as careless, but as useless. In one and the same citizen body, we either decide matters or seek to form correct opinions about them. And we do not regard words as incompatible with deeds, but rather the refusal to learn by discussion before advancing to the necessary action. We are preeminent in this, that we combine in the same citizen body great courage to undertake and ample discussion of our undertakings, whereas in other men it is ignorance that gives boldness and discussion that produces hesitation. Surely they will rightly be judged the bravest souls who must clearly distinguish the pains and pleasures of life, and therefore do not avoid danger. In our benevolence also, we are the opposite of most men. It is not by receiving, but by conferring favors that we win our friends. To sum up, I declare that our city in general is the school of Hellas, Hellas, and that each individual man of us will, in my opinion, show himself able to exercise the most varied forms of activity with the greatest ease and grace. That this is no passing boast, but an actual truth, is shown by the power which our city has acquired in virtue of these traits of ours. It was for such a city, then, that these dead warriors of ours so nobly gave their lives in battle. They deemed it their right not to be robbed of her, and every man who survives them should gladly toil in her behalf. I have thus dwelt at length on the character of our city, both it was city states in those days. The whole city was a whole country. I have thus dwelt at length on the character of our city, both because I would teach the lesson that we have far more at stake than those who are so unlike us, and because I would accompany the words of praise which I now pronounce over these men with manifest proofs. Indeed, their highest praise has been already spoken. I have but sung the praises of a city which the virtues of these men and of men like them adorned, and there are few Hel- Hellenes, like Greeks, like these, whose deeds will be found to balance their praises. I hold that such an end as theirs shows forth a man's real excellence, whether it be a first revelation or a final confirmation. Even those who fall short in other ways may find refuge behind the valor they show in fighting for their country. They make men forget the evil that was in them for the good, and help their country more by their public sacrifice than they injured her by their private failings. Among these men, however, there was no one in wealth who set too high a value on the further enjoyment of it to his own undoing, nor anyone in poverty who was led, by the hope of escaping it and becoming rich, to postpone the dread ordeal, and in the heat of action, thinking it far better to suffer death than to yield and live. They did indeed fly from the word of disgrace, but they stood firm in deeds of prowess, and so, in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the height of their glory, rather than of their fear, they passed away. We are reading from the Book of Virtues on Responsibility. Currently, Thucydides is reading a funeral oration of Pericles. This took place in the 5th century BC. So that's 2,500 years ago. Okay. And we are on 1776 Morsels of a Thought. Such were these men, and they were worthy of their city. Those who survived them may pray perhaps for a less fatal, but should desire no less bold a temper toward their foes. You cannot weigh in words the service they rendered to the state. You know it yourselves fully as well as any speaker who might descant at length upon it, telling you all the good there is in resistance to the foe. You should rather fix your eyes daily upon the city in her power until you become her fond lovers. And when her greatness becomes manifest to you, reflect that it was by courage and the recognition of duty and the shunning of dishonor, that men won that greatness, men who, even if they failed in an undertaking, did not on that account deem it a worthy thing to rob their city of a glorious example, but offered their lives willingly as their fairest contribution to the table of her welfare. That was the funeral oration of Pericles, translated from the Greek. Now we are reading where I put my bookmark that fell out. Um, no, not that. No, not that. No, not that. It was over here. So we are reading from the Book of Virtues by William J. Bennett. He is an editor that compiles all sorts of things. I want to read from F. Scott Fitzgerald to his daughter, Frances Scott Fitzgerald. In this letter, we are seeing the molding of character, a father gently but explicitly telling his daughter what her duties are. Dear Pie, P-I-E, he's talking to his daughter, I feel very strongly about your doing duty. Would you give me a little more documentation about your reading in French? I am glad you are happy, but I never believe much in happiness. I never believe in misery either. Those are things you see on the stage or the screen or the printed page. They never really happen to you in life. All I believe in life is the rewards for virtue according to your talents and the punishments for not fulfilling your duties, which are doubly costly. If there is such a volume in the camp library, will you ask Mrs. Tyson to let you look up a sonnet of Shakespeare's in which the line occurs, lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds? Have had no thoughts today. Life seems composed of getting up a Saturday Evening Post story. I think of you, and always pleasantly, but if you call me Pappy again, I am going to take the white cat out and beat his bottom hard 6 times for every time you are impertinent. Do you react to that? I will arrange the camp bill. Half-wit, I will conclude. Things to worry about. Now he's calling her a halfwit, which I thought was a little funny, but okay. Worry about courage. Worry about cleanliness. Worry about efficiency. Worry about horsemanship. That has to do with character. Things not to worry about. Don't worry about popular opinion. Don't worry about dolls. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about growing up. Don't worry about anybody getting ahead of you. Don't worry about triumph. Don't worry about failure unless it comes through your own fault. Don't worry about mosquitoes. Don't worry about flies. Don't worry about insects in general. Don't worry about parents. Don't worry about boys. Don't worry about disappointments. Don't worry about pleasures. Don't worry about satisfactions. Things to think about. What am I really aiming at? How good am I in comparison to my contemporaries in regard to A, scholarship? B, do I really understand about people and am I able to get along with them? C, am I trying to make my body a useful instrument or am I neglecting it? With dearest love. He signed it. That was interesting because if we don't, if we do worry about courage, then we've got a job to do coming up. In 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, on the 25th of November, in America, there is going to be a movement called the blackout period. There's going to be a blackout, an economic blackout, where people are going to stop buying things at all. Not going, you must, before the 25th, capture all of your refills, your medications, all of your supplies, your foods, everything, slowly gathering them during this period of time prior to the blackout at mom and pop stores, preferably. In any case, during the blackout, we will be avoiding chain stores. We will be avoiding chain restaurants. We will be avoiding buying things online. We will be avoiding working extra hard at our jobs because our point is to slow down the GDP, gross domestic product, which is production. So we will be taking every break that we are legally entitled to the last minute of just the last thing, straw. Don't lose your job if you can't afford to lose it, but generally don't work as hard as you could because you don't want to be a workhorse. You want to do your duty, do the minimum. From the 25th of November on to December 2nd, we are going to black out the economy. This is in the United States of America because of the State of the Union being so horrible. We have been, I am reading from the Book of Virtues, all right? The Book of Virtues by William J. Bennett. And I'm choosing stories on responsibility because it is our civic responsibility right now to, and I have morsels of thought 1776 today. What a number for Wednesday, Words and Wisdom Wednesday. I am hoping that we will learn how to speak up as a populace, take action as a populace, which is to pull back on our GDP and say to the people, the authorities that be, that this is no good, taking away the food stamps from the poor, taking away the medicines from 15 to 25 million uh, residents of people in the United States. And by the way, illegal aliens have no access to medical care. It is a complete misnomer to say that medical care has been going to illegal aliens. It is a red herring, by the way. So don't think about such a story as that. It's a red herring to talk about anything other than we need to reopen our democracy, reopen our shutdown government, sign in, what's her name, Grijalva, to become the 218th signature on the vote to bring on the Epstein files that open up and show our president to be a very poor moral character. And we have to do this so that we get our democracy back. Now I'm going to read The Bridge Builder by Will Allen Dromgoole, Dromgoole, Dromgoole. This poem speaks of each generation's responsibilities to its successors. An old man going a lone highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fears for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. "Old man," said a fellow pilgrim near, "you are wasting strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again must pass this way. You have crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build you the bridge at the eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said. There followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been naught to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building the bridge for him. Will Allen Drumgoole. Isn't that wonderful? We need to consider what's going to happen to for our children. Do we want to hand them down a government that has been spending nothing on them? Okay, so I'm going to read. Hold on. Respecting the flag, or here we go. Respecting the flag. The United States Code states that, quote, the flag represents a living country and is itself considered a living thing. Here are a few rules for respecting the U.S. flag. They are taken from a booklet entitled Our Flag, published by Congress. Students of recent politics will be interested in the last rule. When the flag is displayed during rendition of the national anthem or recital of the Pledge of Allegiance, all present except those in uniform should stand at attention facing the flag with the right hand over the heart. It is the universal custom to display the flag only from sunrise to sunset on buildings and on stationary flagstaffs in the open. However, when a patriotic effect is desired, the flag may be displayed 24 hours a day if properly illuminated during the hours of darkness. The flag should be hoisted briskly and lowered ceremoniously. The flag should not be displayed on days when the weather is inclement, except when an all-weather flag is displayed. The flag should be displayed daily on or near the main administration building of every public institution. The flag should be displayed in or near every polling place on election days. The flag should be displayed during school days in or near every schoolhouse. The flag of the United States of America should be at the center and at the highest point of the group when a number of flags of states or localities or pennants of societies are grouped and displayed from staffs. The flag should never be displayed with the Union down except as a signal of dire distress in instances of extreme danger to life or property. The flag should never touch anything beneath it, such as the ground, the floor, water, or merchandise. The flag should never be carried flat or horizontally, but always aloft and free. The flag should never be used as wearing apparel, bedding, or drapery. The flag, when it is in such condition that it is no longer a fitting emblem for display, should be destroyed in a dignified way, preferably by burning. Okay, old Kinderhook.